In this test we have a GS unit being controlled by a TPLC Rev A, which we can see on the top of the unit there. We can see it's running through its normal sequence of the fog roller and the recirculation pump operating. Obviously the times I'm using here are just for testing purposes, not the normal run times of a GS unit. Here I've got an Android phone which is communicating over Bluetooth Classic with the TPLC. We can see in the text box various information about the unit, like the revision of the code and the build date and the serial number of the GS unit. We can see that the TPLC time is incorrect and the longitude and latitude is incorrect. There are two buttons, one to go into the general system configuration and the other to go into the configuration of the GS unit. If we go to system configuration, this configures parameters that are applicable to any unit, like the on-off time and the time of the unit and the location, etc. The first thing we see is that the time of the TPLC is incorrect because I've got the GNSS unit on the TPLC switched off. I can set the time by clicking Set Time, and we see the time has now been set to 11:26. The next problem we have is that the location is incorrect. We click Location and we can see the latitude and longitude of the Android phone and the latitude and longitude of the TPLC, which is incorrect because I've got the GNS unit switched off. I can set the TPLC latitude and longitude to that of the Android phone. Here we see it has downloaded the latitude and longitude into the TPLC and it is now correct. We can also see the percentage difference. So if we were using a GNS unit, we could see the difference between the latitude and longitude of the TPLC and the Android phone as a percentage. We can see there are various other things we can set, like the maximum error of the level, the unit on and off hours. So say we want to change the unit on off hours, we can do so. The unit on hour is now 7 o'clock. We've now done. We want to update that configuration to the TPLC. We click Update, it asks are we sure, and we click Yes. And it has updated the new unit on time. If we go back to System Config, it shows us that it was updated correctly. So those are parameters that are applicable to any unit. If we go into the GS control, we can see three buttons. If we go to GS Data Display, we see parameters showing the CPU temperature and the accelerometer values. Because an accelerometer isn't fitted to the TPLC relay, those are zeros. If I switch on the controller, here we see it goes into system initialize, a cleaning cycle, service pump on, solenoid valve on, and then it goes into the normal fog roller and recirculation pump operation. So an engineer can see that the unit is operating and can see what's going on. We see in the top text box the fog roller percent on time is 25%. That's because the fog roller on time is 2 seconds and the fog roller off time is 5 seconds. So it's on for about 25% of the time. This would be more useful when it's being controlled by some sort of sensors and the fog roller is being switched on and off by the sensors rather than a timed interval like this. I can set the parameters. Here we see the parameters that are applicable to the GS unit, like the number of cleaning cycles, fog roller on and off time, etc. Say I want to change the fog roller on time. I change it to 5 seconds. I click Update Parameters. Are you sure? If we go back to the data display, we should now see that fog roller on time is now 5 seconds and the fog roller off time is 5 seconds. So the fog roller percent on will now start changing and would go up to being 50%. Relay control allows an engineer to have explicit control of the relays. In this one we see that because the unit is running, the fog roller is going on and off, the recirculation is going on and off. We can actually overrule what's going on here. Say we wanted to turn on the solenoid valve or the service pump. Say we want to turn on the service pump to empty the unit. There we are, and you can hear in the background the service pump is running. I switch off the service pump. I then might want to turn on the solenoid valve to fill the unit with hot water. The solenoid valve is now on. If we just want to test individual relays and what they control, we can turn the algorithm off. So the control algorithm is now switched off completely, and we have manual control of the various things. We can turn the fog roller on and off, the recirculation pump on and off, the service pump on and off, and the solenoid valve on and off. At any time we can then switch the control algorithm back on. So this app allows an engineer to configure various parameters of the TPLC and in this case the GS unit. We can see the GS unit running, check what the values of the sensors are, control the individual relays and the associated pumps and valves, etc. This is an app to enable a service engineer to perform servicing on a GS unit and the associated TPLC.